What if everything you've been told about success is actually holding you back? What if the very effort you pour into controlling your life, the planning, the worrying, the grinding, is the reason abundance feels just out of reach? Think about it. You wake up early, you hustle harder, you map out every detail, rehearse every outcome, brace for every failure, and still, something's missing, that quiet sense of peace, that unshakable knowing that you're exactly where you need to be. Why? Because you've been taught to believe that life is a battle you must win through sheer willpower. But what if life isn't a battle at all? What if it's a dance, and you've been trying to lead when all you needed to do was listen? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Control is an illusion, a comforting story we tell ourselves to quiet the fear of uncertainty. But deep down, you know it. No matter how tightly you grip, the world keeps turning on its own rhythm. Seasons change without your permission. Ideas strike when you're not looking. Opportunities appear not because you force them, but because you were finally open enough to see them. And yet, you keep straining, muscling your way through life like a swimmer fighting the current instead of letting it carry you. This isn't weakness. It's human nature. Your brain is wired to seek safety, to predict, to prepare. But modern life has twisted that instinct into a prison. You're told that if you just work harder, plan smarter, push longer, you'll finally arrive at abundance. But arrival never comes, because the moment you reach one goal, another appears. And the cycle continues. Exhaustion sets in. Doubt creeps in. You start wondering, am I even on the right path? That's the cost of trying to control what was never yours to control in the first place. But there's another way, a quieter, deeper truth that's been whispered through ancient wisdom and confirmed by modern science. The universe is not your opponent, it's your ally. It doesn't demand your struggle, it invites your trust. When you stop knuckling your dreams and start flowing with the natural intelligence of life, something shifts, not outside, at first, but within. Your shoulders drop, your breath deepens, the noise in your mind softens. And in that stillness, clarity emerges. You begin to notice how things have always worked out, even when they didn't go as planned, how lost jobs led to better paths, how heartbreak made space for truer love, how detours brought you exactly where you needed to be, even if you couldn't see it at the time. That's not coincidence. That's the universe moving through you, around you, for you, long before you ever try to take the wheel. Trusting the universe isn't about blind faith or passive waiting. It's about recognizing that you are part of something infinitely wiser than your anxious mind. It's understanding that abundance isn't something you create from nothing. It's something you allow by removing the blocks of fear, doubt, and over-effort. When you release the need to force, you create space for grace to enter. And grace doesn't knock politely. It floods in. So here's your invitation. Stop fighting the current. Stop believing that your worth depends on how much you can control. Because the moment you let go, even just a little, you'll feel it. That subtle shift, that quiet knowing that you're supported, that life isn't happening to you, it's happening through you, and in that alignment, abundance isn't a distant dream. It becomes your natural state. Stay with this, not because it's easy, but because it's true, and by the end of this journey you won't just believe in abundance. You'll feel it in your bones, you'll live it, because you were never meant to chase it. You were always meant to receive it. You've felt it, that moment when everything aligns without you forcing it, when the right person calls at the right time, when an idea lands in your mind like a gift from nowhere. When you take a risk, not because you're certain, but because something deep inside says, go, that's not luck, that's flow, and it's not reserved for the chosen few, it's your birthright. The universe doesn't hoard abundance for the perfect or the powerful. It pours it out freely, constantly, to anyone willing to move with it instead of against it. Nature has always known this truth. Watch a tree. It doesn't panic in winter, begging spring to come faster. It doesn't compare its branches to the oak next door. It simply roots, rests, and rises when the time is right. A river doesn't argue with the rocks in its path, it flows around them, through them, over them, always moving toward the sea. There's no strain, no self-doubt, just pure, unbroken movement. And in that movement, life flourishes, fish thrive, plants grow, ecosystems bloom, not because the river tried harder, but because it trusted its own nature. You are no different. Your body breathes without your command. Your heart beats without your reminder. Wounds heal without your supervision. There's an intelligence within you, older than thought, wiser than fear, that already knows how to thrive. But your mind, loud and restless, keeps shouting over it. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if I lose everything? And so you tense up, you overthink, you clutch your dreams like fragile glass, terrified that if you loosen your grip, they'll shatter. But here's what your fear won't tell you. The tighter you hold, the less room there is for anything new to enter. True abundance doesn't come from squeezing life into your plan. It comes from expanding your capacity to receive what life is already offering. And that begins with surrender, not as defeat, but as alignment. When you stop wrestling with how things should be and start working with how they are, you step into a different kind of power. Not the power of control, but the power of resonance. You become a tuning fork for opportunity, for joy, for unexpected grace. Psychologists call this effortless action, the state where you're fully engaged yet completely at ease. Athletes call it the zone. Artists call it the flow. Mystics call it grace. Whatever you name it, the result is the same. You perform better, create more, and feel more alive. Not because you pushed harder, but because you got out of your own way. You stopped being the obstacle. And that's the secret no one tells you. Your greatest barrier to abundance isn't lack of money, time, or talent. It's the belief that you must earn it through suffering, that if it comes easily, it's not real. That if you're not exhausted, you're not trying hard enough, but that's a lie sold to keep you small. The universe doesn't reward struggle, it rewards openness. It doesn't honor burnout, it honors balance. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you acted from trust instead of tension? If you made decisions from peace instead of panic? If you believed, truly believed, that you are already supported, already guided, already enough? You wouldn't chase, you'd choose, you wouldn't beg, you'd embody, and in that shift everything changes. Doors open not because you kicked them down, but because you walked toward them with quiet confidence. People are drawn to you not because you performed, but because you radiated calm certainty. This isn't fantasy, it's physics. Energy follows attention. When you stop pouring your energy into fear and start channeling it into faith, your entire field shifts. You begin to attract what matches your inner state, not because you visualized it on a vision board, but because you became a living expression of it. So let go, not once, but again and again. Every time fear whispers you'll lose control, answer with, I'm choosing trust. Every time doubt says it's too good to be true, reply, then let it be true for me. Because the universe isn't waiting for you to be perfect, it's waiting for you to be present, and in that presence abundance isn't something you manifest, it's something you remember. It's already here, already yours, already flowing. All you have to do is stop damming the river and let it carry you home. You feel it now, the quiet hum beneath the noise, that subtle pull toward ease, toward trust, toward something greater than your worries. But just as you lean into it, a voice rises inside you, not the voice of wisdom, but the voice of fear dressed as logic. This sounds beautiful. It says, but what if I let go and nothing comes? What if I trust and still end up empty? That voice isn't trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you small, because fear doesn't care about your dreams. It only cares about its own survival, and its survival depends on you believing you're alone in this. But you're not alone. Your mind is the real blocker, not because it's broken, but Because it's been trained to see lack where there is only potential. Every time you replay past failures, every time you imagine worst case scenarios, every time you measure yourself against someone else's highlight reel, you are reinforcing a neural pathway of scarcity. Neuroscience confirms it. Your brain strengthens whatever you focus on. Feed it fear and it builds a fortress of doubt. Feed it trust and it rewires for possibility. The choice isn't about what's real, it's about what you're willing to reinforce. Think about the last time you truly believed in yourself, not with loud declarations, but with quiet certainty. Maybe it was before a presentation, a conversation, a leap into the unknown. You didn't know the outcome, but you felt grounded, calm, ready, and what happened? You rose, not because you were perfect, but because your energy was clear. You weren't fighting yourself, you were aligned. That's the power you've always had. It's not out there, it's in here, in the space between your thoughts, where silence speaks louder than worry. The universe doesn't respond to your plans, it responds to your frequency. When you vibrate in fear, I don't have enough, I'm falling behind, I'll never get there, you attract more of that same energy. But when you shift to I am open, I am ready, I trust what's coming, you tune into a different channel, one where abundance isn't a miracle, it's the norm, not because the world changed, but because you did. And here's the liberating truth. You don't need to eliminate fear to move forward. You just need to stop letting it drive. Fear will always whisper, but you get to decide whether to hand it the keys. Every great breakthrough in your life happened not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of courage, which isn't the lack of fear, but the decision that something else matters more. Your peace matters more, your joy matters more, your trust in the unseen matters more. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for certainty. Certainty is an illusion sold to keep you paralyzed. Universe doesn't ask for guarantees, it asks for participation. Show up, do your part, then release the rest, not with clenched teeth, but with open hands. Because the moment you stop demanding proof before you believe, you make room for the impossible to become real. You've already survived 100% of your worst days. You've already navigated storms you thought would drown you. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still hoping, still reaching. That's not accident, that's evidence. Evidence that you are supported, that you are guided, that you are being prepared for something greater than you can currently see. So quiet the noise, not by silencing your mind, but by choosing a new story, one that says, I am not my fears. I am the space that holds them, and I choose to fill that space with trust. Because when you do, you stop blocking the very abundance you've been begging for. You stop standing in your own light, and in that surrender you become a magnet, not for scraps, but for miracles. The universe isn't testing you, it's inviting you to relax, to receive, to remember who you really are, not a separate drop struggling in the ocean, but the ocean itself, vast, whole, and already abundant. All you need to do is stop resisting the tide. You've been taught that surrender means weakness, that to let go is to give up. But what if the opposite is true? What if the deepest strength you possess isn't in your grip, but in your release? Surrender isn't collapse, it's clarity. It's not resignation, it's reconnection. When you stop trying to force life into your narrow vision of how it should unfold, you finally see the grander design already at work. And in that seeing, you stop fighting yourself and start flowing with everything. This is the paradox. The more you release control, the more power you actually gain. Not the kind of power that dominates, but the kind that creates, the kind that attracts, the kind that transforms. Because when you're no longer exhausting your energy on resistance, on why is this happening to me, or when will it finally change, you free up a tremendous force within you. That force is your presence, your attention, your unwavering belief that life is for you, not against you. And that belief, it changes everything. Think of a seed. It doesn't claw its way out of the soil. It doesn't scream into the darkness, demanding sunlight. It simply surrenders to the process. It breaks open in the dark, trusting that roots will find water and shoots will find sky. and they always do, not because the seed was clever, but because it obeyed a deeper law, the law of unfolding. Your life follows the same law. You don't have to manufacture your breakthrough, you just have to stop blocking it. Surrender is the ultimate act of courage. It means saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust that it will. It means planting your intention in the soil of faith and walking away without digging it up every hour to check if it's growing. It means doing your work with love, then releasing the outcome like a prayer on the wind. And here's what happens when you do. Your actions become lighter. Your decisions become clearer. Your energy becomes magnetic. Because you're no longer operating from lack, you're operating from alignment. Science backs this. Studies on elite performers, from artists to entrepreneurs to athletes, show that their peak moments never come from strain. They come from a state of relaxed focus, where effort and ease coexist. They prepare, they show up, then they let go, they trust the process, the practice, the unseen intelligence guiding their hands. And in that space between doing and allowing, magic happens. Not because they controlled it, but because they made room for it. You've felt this before. That moment when you stopped obsessing over a problem and the solution appeared in the shower, when you released your need for a specific person to love you, and someone even better walked in, when you finally accepted a situation you couldn't change, and peace flooded in like sunlight through a cracked door. That wasn't coincidence. That was surrender working. So stop confusing surrender with passivity. You don't stop acting. You stop agonizing. You don't stop planning. You stop panicking. You move with purpose, but without desperation. You speak your truth, but without needing to control the response. You give your best, then release the rest. And in that release, you reclaim your peace, your power, your connection to the flow of life itself. Because here's the truth your soul already knows. You were never meant to carry the weight of the world. You were meant to walk through it with open hands and an open heart, receiving, creating, trusting. The universe doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present, and in that presence, abundance isn't something you chase. It's something you embody. So take a breath, let go. Not once, but again and again. Every time fear tightens your chest, soften. Every time doubt screams, what if it fails? Whisper back, what if it flies? Because the moment you surrender to trust, you step into the current of everything you've been seeking, and you realize you were never lost. You were always being led. You've been waiting for abundance to arrive, as if it's a train pulling into the station, and you're standing on the platform with your suitcase hoping it doesn't skip your stop. But what if the train is already here? What if abundance isn't something that comes to you? It's something you step into the moment you shift your perception, because right now, in this very breath, you are surrounded by it, not in some distant future, when you've fixed yourself, paid off your debt, or finally made it. Abundance is here, now, in the quiet miracle of your heartbeat, in the air filling your lungs, in the fact that you woke up today with another chance to choose trust over fear. You've been taught to measure abundance only in dollars, likes, titles, or square footage, but real abundance is deeper. It's the feeling of being enough exactly as you are. It's the peace that settles in your chest when you stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. It's the quiet joy of a warm cup in your hands, a text from a friend who just gets it, the sun breaking through clouds after days of rain. These aren't small things, they're proof, constant, undeniable proof, that life is pouring into you even when you can't see the full picture, and yet your mind filters it out. It scans for lack, for what's missing, for what went wrong. That's not your fault, it's your biology. Your brain evolved to spot threats, not blessings, but you are not your brain. You are the awareness behind it, and that awareness can be trained. Every time you pause and say, I have enough right now, you rewire your nervous system for gratitude. Every time you notice beauty instead of lack, you shift your frequency, and frequency is everything, because what you focus on expands. When you live from a mindset of sufficiency, I am supported, I am guided. I have what I need to take the next step. You stop repelling abundance and start resonating with it. Opportunities appear not because the world changed, but because your eyes did. You start saying yes to the right things. You walk away from what drains you. You speak with clarity because you're no longer begging for validation. You become a vessel, clear, open, ready. This isn't wishful thinking. It's psychological truth. Studies show that people who practice gratitude don't just feel happier. They attract more positive experiences. Why? Because they're tuned in. They notice doors others walk past. They respond to challenges with resilience, not collapse. They radiate a quiet confidence that draws people, ideas, and resources toward them. Not because they're lucky, but because they've aligned with the natural rhythm of receiving. And receiving is a skill. One you've been discouraged from mastering. You've been told to earn, hustle, prove, grind, but no one taught you how to open your hands and let life pour in, to accept a compliment without deflecting, to welcome help without shame, to believe that good things can come to you easily, joyfully, without suffering as the price of entry. But they can, and they will, because abundance isn't earned, it's allowed. It flows to those who believe they deserve it, not because they're flawless, but because they've stopped punishing themselves for being human. They've made peace with their past. They've forgiven their missteps. They've stopped using yesterday's failures as evidence that tomorrow won't be different. So look around, not with the eyes of lack, but with the eyes of wonder. What's already here? What's already working? What's already blessing your life, even in disguise? That job you hate might be teaching you what you truly value. That heartbreak might be clearing space for a love that honors you. That quiet moment of stillness might be the universe whispering, "You're safe, you're on time." Keep going. Abundance isn't a destination. It's a way of traveling. And the journey begins the moment you stop waiting for permission and start living from the truth that you are already held, already worthy, already overflowing. You don't need more to be enough. You are enough. And that's where real abundance begins. You've tasted it. That quiet certainty that you are enough. That moment when the noise fades and you feel deeply, undeniably connected to something greater. But then life happens, a bill arrives, a rejection stings, doubt creeps back in, and suddenly trust feels like a distant memory. That's not failure, that's human. The path to abundance isn't a straight line, it's a practice, a daily choice to return again and again to the truth you've already glimpsed. And that practice begins not with grand gestures, but with one radical act, detached action. This is where most get it wrong. They think trusting the universe means doing nothing, or worse. They swing between frantic effort and total collapse. But real power lies in the middle. It's acting with full commitment, while releasing the need to control the outcome. You set your intention. You do your work. You give it your all, then you let go, not with indifference, but with deep faith that the universe is working through you, even when you can't see it. Psychology calls this goal-directed surrender. And it's the secret behind every person who thrives without burning out. They don't abandon responsibility, they abandon obsession. They prepare like everything depends on them, then trust like everything depends on something greater. And in that balance they become unstoppable. Not because they never fail, but because they never tie their worth to the result. Imagine planting a garden. You till the soil, you plant the seeds, you water them with care, but you don't stand over them screaming, "Grow faster." You trust the process. You know that sunlight, rain, and time will do their part. Your job isn't to force the bloomets to tend the ground. Your life is no different. Do your part with love, precision, and courage. Then step back. Let the unseen forces do theirs. This is how you stay sharp without becoming rigid. How you stay driven without becoming desperate. When your actions come from peace, not panic, you make better decisions, you listen more, you create from inspiration, not insecurity. You attract the right people because your energy isn't frantic, it's focused, and focused Energy is magnetic. Detached action also frees you from the prison of perfectionism. You stop asking, "What if I mess up?" and start asking, "What can I learn?" You stop seeing setbacks as proof of failure and start seeing them as redirections. Because when you're not emotionally clinging to one specific outcome, you become flexible, open, ready to pivot when the universe whispers, "This way instead." And that flexibility, it's your superpower. The world doesn't reward those who cling to rigid plans. It rewards those who adapt, evolve, and trust the unfolding. Think of the greatest innovations, the most beautiful art, the deepest healings. They rarely came from a straight path. They came from someone who tried, adjusted, trusted, and tried again without losing their inner calm. So today, act, but don't attach. Speak your truth, but don't demand it be received a certain way. Send the email, make the call, start the project, pour your heart into it, then breathe, release the rope. Let the universe carry it from there, because here's what happens when you do. Your anxiety dissolves, your creativity soars, your intuition sharpens. You stop wasting energy on what-ifs and start channeling it into what is. And in that presence, you become a clear channel for abundance, not because you forced it, but because you made space for it. You don't have to know the whole path. You just have to take the next step. With your hands open, your heart steady, and your trust unwavering. That's how you move through the world, not as a beggar, but as a co-creator. Not as a victim of circumstance, but as a partner with life itself. And in that partnership, abundance isn't something you chase. It's something you embody. Every time you act with courage, then release with grace. Every time you do your part, then trust the rest, because the universe doesn't need your control. It needs your participation, and your peace, and your open hands. Ready to receive what's already on its way. You've been practicing it now. The quiet release, the grounded action, the trust that something greater is moving through your life. But maybe a question still lingers in the back of your mind. What if I let go? And nothing changes. That fear isn't a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're on the edge of a breakthrough. Because real transformation doesn't always roar. It often arrives in silence, in stillness, in the space between your old story and your new truth. And that space, it's sacred. It's where the universe rewrites your reality while you're busy trusting instead of trembling. Here's what you must understand. The universe doesn't always answer in the way you expect. Sometimes it says no, to protect you. Sometimes it delays to prepare you. Sometimes it gives you something you didn't even know to ask for, because it sees the full picture while you're still squinting at a single pixel. Your job isn't to decode the timing. Your job is to stay open, to keep your heart soft even when the path is unclear. Because abundance doesn't just come in the form of money or success. It comes as clarity, as peace, as unexpected grace that reshapes your soul before it reshapes your circumstances. And that's the deepest reward. When you trust, you don't just attract abundance, you become it. You stop seeing yourself as separate from the flow of life and start recognizing yourself as part of its endless generosity. You stop asking, "Will I have enough?" and start knowing, "I am enough. And from this place, everything I need will find me." That shift isn't poetic, it's practical. It rewires your nervous system. It dissolves the chronic tension of scarcity. It frees you to create, connect, and contribute from overflow, not lack. Think about the last time you truly surrendered, not as a last resort, but as a first response. Maybe you stopped chasing someone who wasn't choosing you. Maybe you walked away from a dream that no longer lit you up. Maybe you simply stopped fighting a truth you'd been denying. And what happened? Relief, space, energy, not because everything was perfect, but because you stopped resisting reality. And in that surrender, life rushed in to fill the void you'd been guarding with fear. That's the pattern. Every time you release what no longer serves you, whether it's a belief, a relationship, a version of yourself, you make room for what's meant to serve you next. The universe doesn't waste space. It fills every vacuum with possibility, but only if you're willing to empty your hands first. So don't mistake stillness for stagnation. Don't confuse quiet for absence. Some of the most powerful work happens beneath the surface, in the unseen roots, in the silent recalibration of your energy, in the quiet realignment of your soul with your purpose. You don't always need to see the shift to know it's happening. You just need to feel it. In your breath, in your posture, in the way you no longer flinch at uncertainty. This is your invitation. Stop measuring your progress only by external results. Start honoring the internal revolution. The fact that you're choosing trust over terror, that you're acting without attachment, that you're showing up even when you're not sure. That is courage. That is alignment. That is the fertile ground where true abundance grows. Because abundance isn't just what you receive, it's who you become in the process. A person who knows they are held. A person who moves with grace, not grasping. A person who gives freely because they know there is always more. And that person, they don't just manifest abundance, they radiate it. So keep going, not because you've arrived, but because you've remembered. You were never lost. You are always being led, and every step you take in trust, no matter how small, is a vote for the life you're meant to live. A life not of struggle, but of flow, not of lack, but of endless, unfolding grace. Stay open, stay soft, stay surrendered, because what's coming is already on its way, and it's more than you dared to imagine.